Hi, I'm Paul from Foundation Yoga, and what we're going to do today is a very short, simple yoga routine for after a run or after a ride to simply create some mobility and some movement to counteract some of the things we do when we are always running forward or cycling forward. So we'll start at the back of the mat. Think about your breath coming into your belly. Try and bring it in through your nose if you can. Start to feel like your feet are connected to the mat, that your feet are your foundation. Your knees are soft, they're not locked out, they're soft. Your shoulders are back. You have a very strong, stable position because your feet are in a foundation. Then we'll be bringing our arms up, and on the inhale, high as you can reach them, and exhale back to center. And back, one more time, inhale. This time we'll leave our hands up here as we exhale. And what you're going to try to do is leave your hips right where they are and come into a back bend. So you can look at your hands if you're able to, and just keep your hips tight and just look at your hands to keep your neck from getting too crinkly. Try and do a little bit of an open for your chest and for your front body. And the key here is to make sure that you're able to breathe. Because sometimes when you're doing front body opener, it gets tough to get the breath back into your belly. Come back to a neutral exhale. We're going to come into just a forward fold. And we'll come into a ragdoll. You can have your hands on your elbows. The knees are still bent. You can bend them as much as you need to. The goal here is to hinge at your hips. When you inhale, you can relax a little bit. You can come up and then exhale. So you're not simply holding a static, non-moving stretch. And then inhale, slowly come back up so you don't get a head rush. Bring your arms up on the inhale. And this time, come over. You can stay where you are. I'm just going to be showing what we're doing. Just a side bend. Start to push your hip out to the side. Remember to breathe. And then back again to the other side. Again, just push your hip out. You'll feel a stretch at your hip bone. And then come back to here. Bring your arms back up, overhead. Come down into a forward fold. See if you can get a little bit lower this time. Remember to keep breathing. Good. And then we'll extend our right leg back and extend your left foot forward so that your knee is over your ankle. And this is a low lunge. And in the low lunge, you can start with your hands and your knees, and if you end up being able to put your hands on the mat, that's fine. But the goal here is to really feel this in your hip flexor, so you don't want to be leaning over too much. You want to keep your body more upright. So push yourself forward a little bit on the exhale. Then inhale, come back. And this time we'll come back into a half split. And inhale, again, move forward into the low lunge. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, exhale. Good. All right, and this time we'll come into a runner's lunge. There's a variety of different names, but both hands come inside of your foot here. And this is enough of a stretch for pretty much anybody. Again, try to get your knee over your ankle. And from here, you're gonna try and come forward a little bit more. And you'll feel this in a different place in your hamstrings and in your hip flexors on the right side. And then push back a little. And forward. And each time you do this, with the exhale, you will start to find yourself loosening up just a little more. Good. All right, from here, we'll do a dragonfly, keep your right hand or your opposite foot hand, and bring your left hand up on the exhale. Every time you inhale, try to lengthen your spine, and every time you exhale, try to just deepen the twist a little bit more by rotating your shoulders. Sometimes you'll feel yourself have to push into your left foot, your front foot, just to keep yourself solid on the mat and keep that foundation strong. Good, and then we'll come back and we'll just switch legs. Extend your right leg forward, hands on your knees into the low lunge. Come forward. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. And we'll do that one more time. Although when you're practicing by yourself, you can stick with what we're doing here in the video, or you can continue to do more of these, again, depending on your needs. And then we'll come into that runner's lunge, hands inside of your feet, and we'll do that just a couple of times. Come forward, push back, come forward, and push back. And this time, we'll bring our right arm up overhead, and you may feel a difference between the two sides. And again, lengthen on the inhale. Try to rotate your shoulders. If you can look at your hands, great. If not, just kind of keep them neutral. Keep your neck neutral. Lengthen, exhale, twist your shoulders. Good. And then we will bring this back. And what we'll do is we'll come into a Sphinx pose. We'll try to open up some of our front body. So in a Sphinx, you lay on your belly and on your elbows, hands are down. And the idea is that you're trying to use your elbows to pull yourself forward and lengthen your spine. You're not trying to stretch your neck. You're trying to make your spine longer by pulling back on your elbows. Good. And I'll work our ways into a baby cobra. Have your elbows bent. And again, try to just lengthen your spine. And then you can come into a full cobra. If you are able to, you can stop at any one of those positions. Bring your shoulders back in the full cobra. And you're working on lengthening your spine so that your hips head towards the mat. Clearly mine don't, and that's just fine. That's where I'm at today. You can always rotate your hips a little bit to get a little additional movement in your side hips. Good. Then we'll come back down and we'll get into a bow pose, and you've got a couple of options here. You can do simply a locust pose by pulling back like this, trying to work here more on your lower back. But bow is always a challenge. Come back here. Yeah. So just grab a hold of the top of both feet. And you don't need to do a lot of work here because you're already pulling your feet towards you. So you're doing some work already with your quadriceps and your hip flexors. So just kind of push back against your hands. Focus on your breathing. If you're getting your breathing into your belly, you should be rocking up a little bit. Good. And then to continue that, let's bring your right arm underneath you so that your elbow is underneath you, your hands extended. You're going to reach back and grab your left ankle. And the goal is to be bringing your ankle down beside your hip, which clearly is not going to happen for me, but that's the direction. And again, inhale, relax, exhale, come back. And then we'll switch sides. This gets at your hip flexor just a little bit more deeply and your quads. Good. And now let's come into a seated position. And what we will do is to simply come into a seated butterfly to start. And you could be at any position on the mat that's comfortable. This is where you bring your feet together, grab onto your sides of your feet, and try to bring your heels in as close to your body as you can while staying on top of your sit bones. So this is just a deep inner thigh stretch. And again, it's called a seated butterfly. So on the inhale, and then exhale, bring your legs down a little bit farther. Now some of you more limber people will be able to touch your head to your toes. That's not gonna happen. If you feel like you need a little push, you can use your elbows to push your legs open just a little bit. Good. And then we will do my least favorite pose, and it's my least favorite because it is by far the most challenging for me, or a challenging pose. It's a full pigeon, and the idea is to have your knees stacked on top of each other, and it's just an incredible hip opener. So pull one leg back, bring the other one on top. And you will find that, you'll have varying degrees of success with this. But the cool thing is that if you are practicing your breathing and then releasing a little bit and relaxing a little bit on the inhale, you will find yourself gradually opening up a little bit. So, and then keep trying to get your knees over the top. And you'll feel it everywhere in your lower back and your hips and your glutes. And if you want to try leaning forward a little bit, you'll get an additional bit of work in your back. And again, this is a pose that you can just hang out in. All right, and then let's switch sides. And you will find again that one side is different than the other. Yeah, like this side is way harder. And this is where the breathing practice really comes in important because you really need to focus on your breath in order to relax the muscles that are fighting you a little bit right now. Good. All right. Last thing will simply be a supine twist. Lie back on your back, bring your knees up together, arms out into a T, and just rotate off to the side. You can bring your knees down if you want. Try to get your shoulders off the ground, but again, inhale and exhale, release a little farther. Obviously the goal is to get your knees together. You can keep one hand on there if you'd like. And switch sides. Ooh, and you might get a little pop if you're lucky. All right, and that's it. That is a short recovery or post-ride, post-run kind of work to simply start your recovery and keep things open a little bit.